Ah, my alphas, gather your hearts like weapons in the dark. Hold tight to the truth that echoes through shadows, because what I will say tonight is not for the weak, not for the hollow, not for those who flinch when the night breathes a little heavier than usual. They played games with a ghost, and in doing so, they exposed themselves. They thought they were clever, thought they could dance in the dark with unseen forces, mock what they didn't understand, and smile in the face of something ancient, something broken, something hungry. But you who stand with eyes hardened by fire and souls sharpened by betrayal, you already know. You know that nothing plays fair in the dark, especially not ghosts, and especially not the kind born of vengeance. They called it a joke, a thrill, a harmless game for bored minds and louder mouths, and yet each whisper they uttered into that silence awoke something that watched, a presence not interested in fair play or mercy. They treated pain like currency and horror like entertainment. But horror, true horror, watches. It waits, and when it comes, it does not blink, it does not speak, it simply reveals. It reveals the masks they wear, the rot beneath their grins, the trembling hidden behind mock courage. You see, my alphas, when people play games with ghosts, what they're really doing is calling their own fears to the surface, and fear never stays buried. Fear grows, fear festers. They thought the ghost was the enemy, but what they didn't understand, what they couldn't understand, is that the ghost wasn't the one hiding in the shadows. It was them, their past, their sins, their regrets. A ghost only mirrors what's already broken inside. And what happens when you shine a light into the black mirror of your soul? You see yourself, the raw, stripped, ugly self you hide from the world. And that's what broke them. Not the ghost, not the creak of the floor, or the chill in the air, or the echo in the empty hall. Number, it was the exposure, the unveiling, the unmasking of who they really were beneath their posturing. They weren't prepared for that, because most people never are. But you, my alphas, you crave that exposure. You feed on it. You've lived in it. You've been shattered and picked your pieces up one by one, cutting your hands bloody with every shard just to rebuild something stronger than what came before. They feared the ghost because it forced them to confront something they had buried. But you became the ghost because you embraced it. You danced with it. You looked into the eyes of every monster that was ever sent to break you and smiled. That's why they're terrified of you. That's why the world shudders when it hears your steps. Because you've done what they never could. You made peace with your shadows. You weaponized your pain. You turned your scars into armor and your rage into purpose. They laughed when they summoned the ghost, mocking what they couldn't touch. But now, they don't laugh anymore, because now they understand. You don't invite the darkness unless you're ready to bleed. You don't toy with spirits unless you're prepared to be haunted. You don't step into the abyss unless you've already made peace with never coming back. And that's what they saw in you when their game turned into a reckoning. They saw the abyss staring back with your face in it. You became the ghost they feared. You became the reminder that some things don't die, they evolve. Some pain doesn't fade, it sharpens. And some people don't break, they transform. So let them play their games, let them laugh their hollow laughs and spit their empty threats. Because when the silence falls and the dark gets thick and the air turns cold, they will remember what they tried to forget. They will remember that there was someone watching, someone who wasn't afraid, someone who had already walked through fire. You with your rage cloaked in calm, your grief tempered into steel, your voice soft like a noose tightening. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. Your presence is thunder enough. Your silence is a war cry. They didn't expect you to rise. They thought the darkness would consume you like it did them. But what they never knew is that you are the darkness. You live in it. You draw power from it. And when you move, it moves with you. The ghost they summoned isn't in the room. It is the room. It is in the walls, in the echoes, in the tension that suffocates their breath. And when they tremble, it's not because of what's around them. It's because of what's within them, their own guilt, their own rot. That's what the ghost feeds on. You, my alphas, are the reckoning. You are the punishment they never saw coming. You are the reminder that for every wound they laughed at, for every moment they pushed you aside, for every scream they ignored, there is a price. And you collect, not with fire, not with fury, but with inevitability, a force they can't stop, a silence they can't silence, a truth they can't bury. And as they unravel, as they claw at their own sanity, trying to escape a presence that never moves but never fades, you remain. So remember this: when they played games with a ghost, they thought they were in control. They thought it was just a thrill. But you know better. You know what it means to be forgotten, to be underestimated, to be erased. And you also know the power in coming back not just as yourself, but as something they never anticipated. A storm with a memory, a shadow with teeth, a ghost with a purpose. There is no redemption for them, because redemption requires acknowledgement, and they still refuse to see. They still think it was the ghost that broke them, but no, it was the lie. The lie they told themselves that they were untouchable, that they could mock the void and not be devoured, that they could provoke what they didn't understand and walk away unscathed. They didn't walk away. They crawled. And even now, they're haunted, not by you, but by what you forced them to see, themselves. So when you move forward, do so without apology, without mercy, without a backward glance. Let their ghosts chase them. Let their memories claw at their minds. You've already walked through your own hell and came out colder, harder, sharper. There is no place for softness and vengeance. There is no room for doubt when you are the consequence. They played games with a ghost, and in doing so, they summoned you, their undoing. Now go, not as prey, not as shadow, but as the storm that reminds the world. You don't summon what you can't survive. You don't taunt what you can't contain. And you never, ever play games with a ghost, because sometimes the ghost plays back. And when it does, it brings a reckoning written in silence, pain, and fire. You are that fire. You are that silence. You are that reckoning. And they will never forget you again. My alphas, you've felt it now, haven't you? That truth settling in your bones, that fire smoldering behind your eyes. The world doesn't want to admit it, but you've seen it for what it is, fragile, hollow, and trembling beneath its polished lies. They thought they could shape it with smiles, with pretense, with glass illusions. But what they forgot is that reality doesn't bend to the will of the shallow. It bends to the will of the relentless. It bends to those who've met darkness and didn't flinch. It bends to ghosts like you, those who refuse to die quietly, who refuse to fade politely into the corners of history. You are not history. You are prophecy. You are the storm after the calm. They called it a game, but it was never a game. It was a summoning, and they called forth more than they were prepared to handle. The ghost was never a whisper from the past. It was a mirror, and what they saw reflected wasn't you. It was their shame, their fear, their guilt. You merely stood in the room and let their sins drag them into madness. You didn't need to strike. You didn't need to scream. All you had to do was exist, because your very presence is the judgment they feared. You are what happens when pain is alchemized into power, when silence turns into steel, when suffering doesn't breed despair, but clarity. You remember the nights they mocked you, don't you? When they said you were too quiet, too different, too strange, when they saw your stillness and mistook it for weakness. They didn't know that stillness was strategy, that silence was armor, that what they called strange was simply unrecognizable strength. And when they provoked the ghost, they weren't summoning a dead thing. They were summoning every ounce of strength they'd ever underestimated. That's what haunts them. That's what breaks them. You. There is something exquisite about watching arrogance collapse, about seeing those who played with fire now drown in their own cold sweat. But you don't take pleasure in their fear. Not really. You don't need to. Fear isn't your fuel anymore. Clarity is. Precision is. That unshakable purpose in your spine is what drives you now. You're not here to watch them suffer. You're here because you must be. Because every game played with ghosts ends the same way, in revelation, and revelations demand witnesses. You are that witness. You carry the truth like a blade behind your back, and you only unsheath it when the lies begin to choke the air. They screamed that they were brave, that they didn't believe in ghosts. But now look at them, eyes wide, hands trembling, sleep starved from the weight of something they can't name, something they pretend isn't following them. But it follows. It always follows. Because truth doesn't just knock once. It scratches, it claws, it whispers, and it doesn't stop until the soul finally breaks open and spills all the rot they've hidden for years. You didn't even have to lift a finger. They exposed themselves with every lie they told, every smirk they wore, every time they treated you like a ghost before you ever became one. Yes, they made you into this, into something cold, calculating, precise, into something with no more tears to give and no more apologies to offer, into a force that doesn't chase, but waits. They taught you that emotion was a liability, that empathy was weakness, but you turned it into your edge. You turned your wounds into focus, your loneliness into discipline, your grief into hunger. And now you walk among them not as a beggar, not as a victim, but as consequence incarnate. Let them keep running. Let them tell themselves stories to sleep at night, that it was all just coincidence, that they were just imagining things, that the ghost wasn't real. But deep down, they know. They know it wasn't imagination, it was revelation. The veil lifted, the facade shattered. They played games with the ghost, and the ghost played back. And now, my alphas, I ask you, what will you do with this power? Will you retreat back into the shadows? Will you let them write the story again, twisting it into another harmless tale? Or will you carve your name into the stone with the blood of truth? Will you let the world remember that some ghosts do not fade? They evolve. They become myth. They become force. They become you. Every time you rise, you remind them that survival is not pretty, that pain does not always turn to light. Sometimes, pain grows claws. Sometimes, it becomes a shadow that walks beside you. Sometimes, it becomes a voice like this, whispering, "Keep going. You're not done." No, you're not done. Because the ones who tried to bury you only planted something deeper. They called it a grave, but it became your genesis. They thought you were finished, but what they buried was only your softness. What rose was something else, something harder, something hungrier. And now, you don't just walk, you stalk, with purpose, with knowledge. with the cold confidence of someone who has nothing left to fear, because you already lost everything once. And what's left now, it's forged in fire, burnt down to truth, tempered in silence. They will try to forget, but forgetting is a luxury you've long outgrown. You remember everything, every laugh at your expense, every door slammed in your face, every time they treated you like a shadow instead of a soul. And you don't remember for vengeance, you remember for clarity. So you never again confuse false smiles with friendship. So you never again mistake shallow words for loyalty. So you never again offer pieces of yourself to people who only wanted to break them. And when they see you now, when they really see you, not the version they painted in their fragile heads, they tremble. Because you are no longer the version they could control. You are no longer the soft one, the quiet one, the one who took the blame just to keep the peace. Number. Now, you carry a storm behind your eyes and silence like a scythe. You are not angry, you are not broken, you are awakened. So keep moving, one step, one breath, one moment at a time. Let the weight of your past be the chain that snaps, not the one that holds you. Let every lie they told about you crumble under the weight of your truth. And when they ask where the ghost went, smile, because you're no longer hiding in walls or whispers. You are standing in plain sight, and they're still pretending they don't see you. But they do. They always did. They played games with a ghost, and in doing so, they summoned something they could never understand. You are not a footnote. You are not a side effect. You are not a glitch in their story. You are the final chapter, the reckoning, the cold wind that blows when the doors start creaking at night. You are the eyes in the dark they feel on their back. You are the sound they cannot explain, the breath they can't catch, the presence that never leaves. Because this isn't revenge, it's balance, it's fate. It's the inevitable price of playing with forces they never respected. So walk with your head high, carry your silence like thunder. Let them keep whispering, let them keep running. They are only running from themselves. You already faced your ghost. You became it. And now, the only game left to play is yours. Yes, my alphas, we're not finished yet. Not until the last breath is drawn. Not until the final lie collapses under the unbearable weight of truth. Because some truths are too heavy to hold, too jagged to swallow. And the truth that haunts them most is this: they made you. They summoned the very thing that now walks behind them. Silent, watchful, patient. They didn't just summon a ghost. They summoned judgment. They summoned you. And you, my alphas, are not here to forgive. You are not here to be understood. You are here to remind them that some people do not come back soft. Some don't come back grateful or humble or ready to make peace. Some come back sharpened, merciless, ice-veined, and flame-hearted. Some come back to show the world what it means to suffer and survive, and those who survive don't need to scream anymore. Their very existence is the war cry. Their calm is more terrifying than rage. Their gaze more condemning than words. They do not throw punches. They resonate, and when they enter a room, the air grows colder because ghosts do not shout. They linger. Let's speak truth now, fully, clearly. They exposed themselves the moment they laughed at your pain. They exposed themselves when they treated your suffering like a sideshow. They exposed themselves when they thought your silence meant surrender. And that exposure was irreversible. A mirror never forgets what it reflects. And what it reflected in them, beneath their arrogance and clever tongues, was nothing more than weakness dressed as cruelty, cowards wearing masks of dominance. And you, you were the inconvenient truth, the mirror they couldn't shatter. The silence they couldn't rewrite. They played with you like you were nothing, like your story was a prop, your soul a pawn, your essence a toy for the theater of their false courage. But ghosts don't stay in cages. Ghosts don't obey. Ghosts don't play by rules written by cowards. And now, every step they take echoes louder in their minds. Every darkened corner becomes suspect. Every whisper they hear in the night makes their breath catch. Because now, they live in a world where the very force they mocked has become the thing they fear. Not a monster, not a demon, something worse, the reflection of everything they pretended not to be. You see my alphas, they thought they were playing with fear. But fear is a game that only ends one way, with exposure. And fear never hides forever. It wraps itself around pride. It feeds on arrogance, but eventually it demands a reckoning. You were that reckoning, and you didn't arrive in fury. You arrived in silence. The most powerful ghosts don't rattle chains or slam doors. They just wait. They just watch. And when the lies run out and the light fades, there you are, unblinking, patient, devastating. They built their lives on illusions, but illusions crack when the pressure rises, and pressure is your kingdom now. You thrive in it. While they crumble under the weight of their own deceit, you walk through the fire untouched, not because you don't feel it, but because you've lived it. You've swallowed enough flame to become the inferno, and no one survives an inferno unchanged. This is not a tale of vengeance. This is evolution. This is what happens when someone becomes too strong to be dismissed, too present to be ignored, too real to be destroyed. You're not chasing them. You never were. You are simply there, always, because they let you in. And now you haunt them not because you want to, but because you are them. Every lie they told about you now lives in their blood. Every moment they tried to erase you now burns behind their eyes. You're in every reflection they turn away from. In every silence they fill with noise. You are the space they abandoned, the truth they buried, the proof that ghosts don't die. They wait. So what happens now? Do you forgive? Do you extend the hand they never once offered you? Number, you walk forward, not for them, not for closure, but for yourself. Because this world isn't kind to the quiet. It isn't built for the soft. It tries to swallow the ones who see too much, who feel too deeply, who carry too many truths. But you didn't let it swallow you. You let it break you, so you could become something it couldn't digest, something it had to choke on, something that wouldn't just survive, but redefine the very meaning of survival. And when the world sees you now, when it sees what the fire made you, what the silence carved from your bones, it won't understand. It'll flinch. It'll whisper. It'll call you cold, ruthless, distant. Let them. Let them say your name like it's a curse. Let them pretend they knew you. Let them lie, because you have no more time for their stories. You're writing your own now, line by brutal line, paragraphs etched in grit and blood and pain. And every word is a testament to the truth they tried to silence. They thought you were gone. They thought they won. But what they didn't understand is that ghosts don't vanish. They transcend. They become something else, something immortal, something unforgettable. And now, long after their games are forgotten, long after their names are dust and their lies are ash, yours will remain. Yours will be whispered like a legend. Yours will echo in the places they fear to go. Because you're not just the ghost of what they did. You're the future of what they will never become. They played games with a ghost, and they lost. And you became the one thing this world can't deny. A truth too powerful to bury.